I've been postponing doing this video of a comparison between Kenya and a country called Cape Verde. Many people have not heard of Cape Verde or Cabo Verde. It's a 14-island nation off the coast of Senegal. So let's go through some of the key differences. One, obviously, is the geography. It's in West Africa, that's one. People have a tendency to lump in Africa as being all the same. That is so untrue. Africa is the most diverse continent in the world, genetically speaking. The tallest people, the tallest tribe is in Africa. The shortest tribe, the shortest people are also in Africa. You could find blue eyes, blonde hair people in Algeria and Morocco, and even in Egypt. And you could find as dark as Sudanese or Senegalese. You got all shades and colors in Africa. But a lot of people seem to lump Africa as just the same from one country to another. And that is far from the truth. Even before colonization, there was a lot of differences. Then you add on the fact that you had different European countries colonizing different parts of Africa. So you have, for example, you have French-speaking countries. Obviously, there's an influence of French culture in those countries. You have English-speaking countries, which they left a little bit of their mark too. I would say out of the English-speaking countries, they left least mark on their cultures of their African colonies, because the English Empire, by the time they started colonizing Africa, their empire was so big that they really didn't have the resources or the time to influence so much, bring their culture into the African countries. Then you got Portuguese-speaking countries. There's 6. Most people don't know here in Kenya, so I gotta mention that. There are 6 countries in Africa that speak Portuguese, official language, and then you got the Arabic countries. All those countries got different influences from their colonial past. Kenya, in particular, also got influence from the Arabs and from the Ottoman Empire, the Turkish. So you see, to lump in everything, it's not the same. So I stayed in this country called Cape Verde on and off for 4 years. And one of the reasons why I went there was because, since I speak Portuguese fluently, I know they couldn't talk shit about me. So, plus I got somebody that suggested me going there, because I was going to go back to the US. So I went there on vacation. I liked it. So I would stay there no more than 4 months, because at the end of the day, I was staying in an island. Even if I went to another island, it'd still be the same. So I felt a little locked in. So I would go, if I needed to get shopping done, I would go to Portugal and then come back. If I wanted to just leave, then I would go to the US. Anyway, so here's some differences. Now, I'm doing this as a live, but I'm going to use this as my YouTube video. So I'm not going to be replying to comments. You can listen or you cannot listen. That's up to you. Because as Kenyans, I could teach you a little bit even about your own history. Now, Cape Verde. Let's talk about something a little bit superficial, not that much, let's say, I don't know, something that's not that doesn't have a lot of depth. For me, what I choose in terms of beauty, Kenyan women or Cape Verdean women, Kenyan women would win. Whereas men, Cape Verdean men are better looking than Kenyan men. All right? So, and one thing about Cape Verde is that most Cape Verdeans are mixed. So it's not common to see somebody really, really dark and have green eyes. You also, I've never been, as many African Americans are in the US, I've never seen such exotic features as in Cape Verde. As a matter of fact, there was an American university that went there specifically to make genetic testing, because it's so uncommon to see somebody dark like a Sudanese, or almost as dark and come out with blue eyes, or dark and have hair like me. Like, I've never seen that all my life in the United States, as many African Americans as there are. And in case you don't know, on average, the average American, African American, 18% of their genetic pool is Caucasian or white, not including the Native American blood. So less than 80% of African Americans' genetic genes is not African. Just FYI. Like I was saying, Cape Verde is very exotic, the way the people look. All right, moving on. Another difference. Food. I hate to say this, but when it comes to food, Kenya's food is not one of its strong points. There's a lot of more countries with much better food. No offense, but if you travel and you be impartial, you will know, if you're Kenyan and watching this, you will know what I'm talking about, that it's true. As a matter of fact, most of the stuff that is eaten in Kenya that is popular originated from somewhere else. Ugali, introduced by the Portuguese. Chapati came from the Indians. Pili pili from the Portuguese. I don't know what else. Pilau, I think, came from the Arabs. So forth. All right? So, with that said, it's a no contest when it comes to food. Cape Verde definitely wins over Kenya. Racism. I've heard a lot of ignorant stuff in Swahili. Now I'm learning more and more Swahili. Even though I don't know how to speak it well, I could pick up on stuff. And yes, there's racism in every country. Anybody that tells me or tells you there's no racism in X country or Y country or country A, country B, that's bullshit. There's always racist people in every country, no matter what the culture is. It's just part of human nature. There's always a few that are going to be racist, even if the culture is not racist, right? But in terms of racism, Kenya wins. There, in my opinion, there's more racism in Cape Verde than in Kenya. Corruption. Hands down, this is not even a close call. Cape Verde wins. Cape Verde is so much more organized. It's a country with no natural resources. It's a country where there are years where it doesn't even rain. All right, so imagine they got to import 90% of their food. They don't have oil. They have almost nothing they could export, but yet they're able to manage the money that they get from the tourism industry over there. And I kid you not, even a village with 300 people will have a soccer field. Even a village with 300 people will have sidewalks in every street. You don't see dirt roads on the main streets. Even in the small villages, it won't be tarred road, but they will have stoned road. They'll put cobblestones on the road. You will not find that. For me, I still can't understand, and this is not a Ruto president fault. This is not the previous president fault. This is every president fault since Kenya got independence. There's no excuse not to have sidewalks. I'm sorry to tell you. It may be normal for Kenyans because you were brought up that way. If you haven't traveled, you think it's normal, but it's not normal not to have sidewalks. Sidewalks is something very simple. It's not something that takes a lot of money to make, and they last for a lifetime. Roads is a different story because you have cars that weigh tons that damage the roads. Sidewalks, you make a sidewalk, the only thing the weight of the sidewalk that it's got to bear, it's somebody's weight. It's not going to get damaged. All right, so that's something I still can't wrap myself around, is why aren't there any sidewalks in Kenya, or it's hard to see sidewalks, and why there's hardly any parks. There should be definitely more money being invested putting a soccer field, it doesn't have to have grass. Cape Verde cannot put grass, for example. It hardly ever rains. It's by the Sahara Desert, right? But they still make soccer stadiums made out of, not sand, but just dirt, with the soccer goals, with the lines painted. It doesn't have to be something fancy. That kind of stuff, if you look at Cape Verde with the population of only 650,000, has way more professional soccer players playing in big European clubs than Kenya. Kenya, which has around 70 times higher the population. And the reason is, in my opinion, is because there's no infrastructure. Where are the soccer fields? Where are the parks for Kenyans to become future athletes? You know? I also blame Kenyans because when I speak to you guys, you guys say, they're all the same, what are we gonna do? No, well, keep on manifesting. I didn't understand last year why everybody was going, and I don't know about Ruto, I don't care about politics, Kenyan politics. All I know is this. People were protesting in Nairobi about Ruto because the expenses were going high, the inflation, all that stuff. Let me tell you something. There's little or nothing Ruto could have done, or any president in Kenya, because the dollar kept on rising. Everything that's imported in any country is bought in dollars. There's nothing Ruto could have done. The only country, and to a certain extent Europe, because Europe is always bed in bed with the United States when it comes to manipulating the value of the currencies. It's them. If they lower the interest rates, their currency goes down in value. Henceforth, then it becomes easier for countries to get loans in dollars. So there's little that Ruto could have done, or any president. You could have put any president in Kenya, it wouldn't change a thing. Now Cape Verde has the luxury of being linked. Its currency is linked to the euro through Portugal, right? So that means it never changes. Whatever the euro is worth, their currency stays the same. It's always 112 of their currency to 1 euro. It will never change because it's linked. Their central bank system, their central bank is linked to the Portuguese central bank, which is linked to the European Union central bank. So whether you could go there with euros, they will take the euros, they will take their own currency because it's worth the same. Kenya doesn't have that luxury, all right? So the corruption is crazy. There's corruption in every country, but when I see police officers, when I see the very basic government employees doing corrupt practices, that's a problem. Cape Verde doesn't have the problem, and you don't have to take my word for it. You could Google the 3 best democracies, the top democracies, or most organized, or least corrupt countries in Africa. I guarantee you Cape Verde will be in the top 3. And if Cape Verde could do it, any other African country could do it too. What else? One thing that also I didn't like about Cape Verde was that, let's say I needed something. I wanted a pair of Nikes. Since the flight was cheap, in case you don't know, if you're from Kenya and you're watching this and you haven't traveled, you don't know much about how things go. Like French-speaking countries will have a lot of flights going to France. The English will have a lot. Well, Kenya, I think is I don't know what happened between Kenya and the UK. I guess Germans took over, but for the most part, your former colonial country will be the one that will grant visas easier. So if you're from a French-speaking country, it'll be easy for you to get a visa to France. I think it applies the same thing with the UK, except for some reason, since there's a lot of Germans, there's more Kenyans, I think, in Germany than the UK. but I'm pretty sure it's not hard to get a UK visa. Or should I say it's easier for a Kenyan to get a UK visa than another European country, right? The same thing applies for a Portuguese-speaking country. So the flights would go directly to Portugal. So if I needed like a pair of Nikes, I wanted to buy something, I had to fly. And usually the flights are cheap because I'm not only talking about Cape Verde. I've noticed also with Senegal, since it was colonized by the French, the flights from Senegal to France were cheap. If you were to go to Senegal just to Spain, which borders France, the price is double. So that's why I would go shop in Portugal. Now, in Kenya, yes, Nikes are ridiculously expensive. Certain things are ridiculously expensive because of the damn tariffs that Kenyan government imposes. But at least I have the option. And that's what I like about Kenya. I don't have to fly to get something. Whereas in Cape Verde, you want something, you have to go out of the country. What else? So, who is more hospitable? Kenyans or Cape Verdeans? See, Cape Verdeans, there's different islands. I would say some islands, it would be a tie. Some islands, Kenya would win. So, with that said, I would say Kenya has the edge over Cape Verde. Kenyans are a little bit more hospitable than Cape Verdeans, even though Cape Verdeans are hospitable too. So, I may be missing other points. Oh, here's the thing. And this has to do with, let me get where there's light. This has to do with being organized as a country. Were there power outages in Cape Verde? Maybe once a year. Maybe once a year there was a power outage and it would only last for 2 or 3 hours. Kenya, no. But at the end of the day, would I choose, here, that's better. At the end of the day, which country would I choose to stay with? For the time being, maybe I'll change my mind in a year, maybe I'll change my mind in 2 years, I doubt it. As much as I like Cape Verde, and I do like Cape Verde, I have no complaints. At the end of the day, there were more pros than cons. But would I choose Cape Verde over Kenya? No. And I'm not saying this because I'm on live on TikTok or because I'm in Kenya. I don't give a rat's ass if people follow me or not. Truth be told. That's why I do some of the videos I do. Whether I know I'm not going to get likes, trust me, a lot of the videos that I do on TikTok, I know I'm not going to get a likes, and I still do them. But it is the truth. I'm not trying to kiss nobody's ass here. Would I choose Cape Verde over Kenya? At the end of the day, would I weigh all the pros and cons? No. So, and I think that's it. I may have missed a few more things. But at the end of the day, I like both countries. Would I choose, here's another one. Now this is not specifically Kenya. Would I choose East Africa over, would I choose West Africa or East Africa? Aside from Cape Verde, that's a hell no. And no offense to anybody who's from Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Conakry, Ivory Coast. No offense. But I would never choose West Africa over East Africa. That's an easy. The only country in West Africa that I would consider staying again would be Cape Verde. And I hope you enjoyed the video.